Earlier in the show, we talked about how the Cowboys are going to try to utilize Deuce Vaughn's versatility. Perfect example there.
When you see Dak Prescott commanding a huddle like this, and there's a lot of youth in that huddle, rookies, second-year guys, undrafted free agents, what does that tell you about Dak and the confidence that really Mike McCarthy has as a first-year play caller, at least in this organization, to say, hey, Dak, you command the huddle like this, even with young guys around? Does that say more about Dak, or does that say more about the youth that's around him?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Both.
Because primarily, you want to make sure that your franchise quarterback is a leader of men, and we know unequivocally that is the case with Dak Prescott. 2022 Walter Payton Man of the Year, and that is by no accident. He commands the entire locker room. His presence is there, and everyone wants to listen to him. He's like a magnet. And for these young guys to come in and be this coachable and be wide-eyed and open-eared, you want to see that from the guys.
I'm going to low throw to Tyron Johnson, who was a late addition this offseason. Johnson, one of the few wide receivers in this entire core that actually comes in with multiple touchdown grabs through his NFL career. He did so in 2020, coming up from the practice squad as a part of the Los Angeles Chargers. His first career reception, Patrick, it's a 53-yard bomb from Justin Herbert. So Cowboys trying to find a little bit of something with Johnson.
You're saying he's accustomed to making big plays in California.
He's made it happen.
There you go.
A couple times before. Here's Cooper Rush looking for Durden down the sideline, and that one was caught easily by the West Florida undrafted free agent, and looks like that'll be the end of this drill. And now we are into 7-on-7, so no defensive or offensive linemen outside of the center, and you get to see this is just pure football. Mike McCarthy's talked about that all week long. You've got on the opposite side of the field some offensive, defensive line drills, but this is where the skills positions get to shine.
Absolutely, and this is one of the more fun parts of training camp practice to watch, Kyle. When you get to see the offense lining up against the defense in these drills, you get a good opportunity to see not only what the skill positions are doing offensively with Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush, and Will Grier, but some of these starters and then the younger guys on defense that are trying to make a name for themselves, notably Marquise Bell, who's going to get a ton of work in the absence of Donovan Wilson and Israel Kwame.
Tell me a little bit about Nashawn Wright. We can watch him on this rep as he's to the right now. He's going up against Michael Gallup. Got to get in front of Izzy McQuamu, who's on the sideline currently. But tell me about the camp you've seen from him. Great coverage that time. You could see Dak Prescott look his direction as CeeDee Lamb nearly reeled in the one-handed grab, but Nashawn Wright had Gallup locked up there, and he's continuously built on good practices to start.
Absolutely, and Nashawn Wright is building off of an impressive outing in 2022, for lack of a better way to say it. When they lost Anthony Brown to a season-ending injury, Nashawn Wright, he stepped in, kind of took the role from Kelvin Joseph, and what you're seeing is him utilize his length, which is something Dan Quinn loves. On that particular rep, he was able to keep Gallup at bay with his length.
Here he is against Dennis Houston. Let's see what he's got there. Houston put a move on him. Throw into the end zone, and it's caught by Houston. Oh, excuse me. Dennis Houston was last year's number 3. That's Brandon Cooks. How dare I do that for Brandon Cooks in his first touchdown grab in practice? I'm going back to 2022. I'm still got to get used to number 3 out there.
That's how fast Cooks is that he ran us back in time just a little bit. We talk about Nashawn Wright and the length that he has and he puts on display, but kudos to Brandon Cooks. He's smaller, he's quicker, he's just a phenomenal route runner, and he kind of taught the young cornerback a lesson on that.
No doubt about that. We were just talking up Nashawn Wright on what a great start to camp it has been, and then Brandon Cooks comes out there and puts a foot in the ground and then turns up the field afterwards.
He shows you why he was worth the 5th-round pick and probably more, but kudos to the Cowboys for being patient in that negotiation. They didn't have to give up the 2nd-round pick that was initially the conversation in October, ultimately a 5th-round pick, and look at what you get for the 5th-round pick. 6-time 1,000-yard receiver who is out here putting guys in a blender.
There's Cooper Rush throwing on the run to the rookie Jalen Brooks. Brooks has had a bit of a welcome to the NFL start to camp. I mean, he's dropped a couple of passes, but he's also worked into the fold quite a bit, and that's normal for rookies.
It is, and a lot of these rookies need to understand that the path to the roster is probably going to be through special teams. So what you want to do is make sure that you limit your mistakes or eliminate them completely when you're doing your offensive or defensive reps. But also keep in mind, John Bones Fossil is watching as well, and he's going to have a say ultimately on the special teams, and that might get you on the roster. Brooks might be one of those guys.
Right after you said John's Bones Fossil, I mean, he's back behind talking to Cooper Rush. He's on the mic. He's watching over all of these portions of practice.
Absolutely, and
it matters too.
Most definitely, one of the more energetic coaches in the NFL, not just with the Cowboys.
John Fossil, special teams coordinator. and de facto referee at the same time. Here's Cooper Rush back out of the shotgun. He's got Ronald Jones to his right. Quick drop there for Rush, and he overthrew his tailback. Tell me about Ronald Jones and what you expect out of the tailback this year.
From Ronald Jones, obviously a little bit of an uphill battle with who's behind him. We know what Tony Pollard brings to the table. Ronald Jones is more of a traditional running back. If there's anyone on this roster you look at and you ask yourself who's going to be kind of the power back to replace Zeke, I know the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy are clear in that they're not definitively trying to replace Zeke as much as they're trying to figure out the offense in that room. But that's what you get from Ronald Jones. But I'm thrilled to see that they're utilizing him more so as far as a receiver out of the backfield. The question is, can he prove that he is that in addition to being a power back?
Rush going to throw that one underneath far side. There's Tyron Johnson again. Second time we've seen him reel in a pass during training camp live. Fajoko's out there. Tolbert out there. You also have John Stevens out in the slot as a tight end,
who impressed greatly on day 2 of practice. John Stevens did. So in the absence of Luke Schoonmaker, who's on the non-football injury list for now, players like John Stevens Jr., players like Seth Green, Sean McEwen, they're going to have to take advantage of these opportunities behind Peyton Hendershot and Jake Ferguson. Obviously, Jake being the de facto TE1 right now.
All right, now going back into the huddle. Ball at the 11-yard line. They're going to mark it as 1st and 10 from the 11. About a half a yard in between the first down marker and, of course, the goal line. Deuce Vaughn now in the backfield. Ontario Drummond on the field. Rush looking. He'll look for Drummond back in the end zone, and it's overthrown. So that'll bring up 2nd down here in this scenario. Good coverage that time from Tyler Coyle. And then Kelvin Joseph underneath. There was really nowhere to throw that football.
And on that particular play, pre-snap, my eyes went directly to Kelvin Joseph. Why, Kyle? Because he was taking that rep from the nickel as opposed to the boundary. The Cowboys have been trying to get him some nickel work in OTAs and minicamp, and that's now rolled over to training camp. He's really going to have to make a name for himself in that nickel position with the addition of Stephon Gilmore.
And Eric out there. Dennis Houston's out there. He's on the near side. Rush looking to the far side. He'll bring it back to his left. Throwing on the run. There's Houston with the grab. Taken down. We're in shells. We're not in pads yet. It was Eric Scott Jr. with a little extra physicality. That brings up 3rd down and long in this close to the 10-yard line situation.
Great catch by Dennis Houston, who was one of the camp stars in 2022. His chemistry with Dak Prescott was on display readily, and that's why he was on the active roster week 1.
I do want to look at this as we're waiting for this next play. If we can pan to the left and look over here back behind the dummies, look at the defense just getting ready. I mean, look at how many talented individuals are on this defensive line group, and they're all just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a ton of them. And they were just sitting back behind the dummies as they're waiting for this play to finish and waiting for their turn to get after it.
Well, hey, if you're an opposing offensive coordinator and you're watching this footage, if so, thank you for tuning in. But if you're looking at this has to be intimidating to say the least. When you're talking about DeMarcus Lawrence, Jonathan Hankins, the addition of Mozzie Smith, Quentin Bohanna, a lot of these guys, Dante Fowler, Malik Hooker. I mean, this defense, Sam Williams, who I expect to have a breakout year. So, it's fantastic to have this type of depth Dan Quinn can use to throw at teams.
Here we go. 3rd down and long. That one thrown to Deuce Vaughn. He caught it on the near side, but he didn't go very far. Good coverage, and it brings up 4th down. Nearly goal to go. They can reset the down marker at the 1-yard line. And that was at the 4.
And that was yet another screenplay to Deuce Vaughn. Take the hint, ladies and gentlemen. Take the hint.
4th down. Got to score here for Cooper Rush. And the offense, he'll go to the far side, and he found Simi Fehoko. Did he get the ball in bounds? I think it's a 1st down either way. They're going to call it on the line judge. We're right behind the line judge. They're going to put it right at the goal line, but that's a 1st down.
It is a 1st down, to say the least, and that's good to see from Simi Fehoko. A lot of talk was being had from day 1 because of the...
And giving some knuckles to each and every one of his offensive players. This is a fun day because this is the day the pads come back on.
You're hearing a lot of noise out here, Kyle. Wasn't no noise last week, but now you're starting to hear these pads here, getting a little bit of helmet action, and you're starting to see guys get their fits and see exactly what they're doing. in terms of his offense and defense.
We'll watch Dak here as he hands it off to Tony Pollard. Pollard slips to the left-hand side, running off the back hip of Chuma Edoga. And we've talked about it already on a couple other shows, but when the Pats come on, it normally benefits the offensive line because now they have something to grab onto.
Yeah, they can get their fits. I mean, now all of a sudden, you're not trying to hold on to jerseys. You actually have some pads underneath there, and you can utilize your forehead, obviously the strike, and you get a hold of those shoulder pads a little bit.
Here you go, Prescott back in the shotgun. You've got Tolbert to his left. He's going to look that direction, but it's instead to Ferguson. He bobbled it initially, covered by Damone Clark, and Ferguson holds on for the catch.
Yeah, that's a good catch right there. Nice contested. A lot of these passes are going to be contested, especially with this new West Coast offense. A lot of shorter routes.
I was going to ask about that because that's one of those quick reads, quick release. There's really no time wasted there from Dak Prescott, and if that's going to be the case, you got to have some separation from your tight ends, from your wide receivers. Does that make things harder on the pass catchers to get their job done?
Well, it's going to be. They just have to realize that there are going to be a lot more contested passes. These guys are going to have to do a good job of having a great stem off the line of scrimmage, getting guys' hands off of them, and then getting into the routes and trying to create some separation at the top of the break.
That one to Kevontae Turpin, diving catch right in front of Malik Hooker.
Yeah.
Look at Turpin getting some run. It was him, Fehoko, and Tolbert as the wideouts in that one scenario, but they were going up against the first-team defense.
You love to see it, especially you want to see number 9 with the ball in his hand. The more reps they can get with that in his hand, obviously the greater opportunity for big plays.
He's looking to get in a rhythm as a wide receiver. Of course, he had made such an impact that he made a Pro Bowl from a special team standpoint. Now can he find a rhythm offensively as the starting wideouts are back in? Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. They'll put Cooks in a little bit of motion here. High snap for Prescott. He'll have to roll out to his left, and he's going to just tuck it and run. Had some space there. You like to see that from Dak, though, using the mobility to his advantage.
When necessary. When necessary, you want him to utilize his legs to find his way out of trouble. You don't want him to be forced. But like I said, with a lot of these quick reads, if your first or second options are taken, sometimes you got to use them feet and just scoot on out of that pocket.
And he's okay to do that here because nobody can hit him. He's got a red jersey on.
That red is nice and bright.
New red jersey back behind center now as Cooper Rush will take the second team's reps. And he'll hand that one directly off to Rico Dowdle, who bounces off a couple defenders. Jonathan Hankins got in there. So did Dante Fowler Jr.
Yeah, Fowler came off the edge screaming. You're seeing that a lot today with these defensive ends really squeezing and really condensing not only the pocket on the passing, but also the running lanes.
You can feel the energy. A little hurry up here from Cooper Rush and company, and looked like miscommunication there.
Big Mozzie's in there too. Big Mozzie over there getting tussled in the middle.
Making things tough. Cooper was trying to get that to John Stevens, the tight end, who's gotten off to a great start, but he threw it back behind him. Looked like either Stevens ran the wrong route or Cooper Rush thought he ran the wrong route.
Either way, it's a waste of rep, unfortunately. When you start getting to those second team, third team reps, you can't take advantage of every rep that you're given in practice.
And you'll see a lot of Cooper Rush. Of course, Will Grier in terms of preseason action starting on August 12th against Jacksonville. Isaiah will be in the booth for all 3 preseason games. I'll be in the booth for the first 2. Should be a whole lot of fun. A little offsides. Cooper Rush going to test this one deep. Far side, and it's incomplete. Broken up at the last moment by Eric Scott. Tyron Johnson was the intended target. A very good throw from Cooper Rush.
That was a freaking dime. That's what we call dropping it in a bucket. One thing you like to see is see Johnson try to hold off that man at the end a little bit, but great job by Eric Scott breaking it up.
That's a nice job from Cooper Rush, too, recognizing that the defense was a bit offsides. They were a bit early, and because of that, he's able to pull the trigger and try the deep ball.
No harm.
Johnson will go out to the right. You've got David Durden in at wide receiver, Dontario Drummond.
It's like the same play.
I think they're running it back. Jose Barbone out there as well. Donald Jones will do some pass protection. They get it out to Tyron Johnson. Took a lick that time. The pads are back on, and there's a nice little welcome hit. Sheldrick Redwine was the one that laid down the pop.
You're seeing a lot of 3-by-1 sets, a lot of 3 receivers on one side, 1 receiver to the other, and that 1 receiver is going to have a lot of opportunities for one-on-one matchups. So as we were talking about those quick hitters, you're going to see those guys have the chance to win versus one guy instead of having to worry about that safety.
They're going to call this 4th down and about 4 from the 36-yard line. We're going to see a lot of late down scenarios worked between the 1s and the 2s here in this segment. And that's where it gets fun. Whenever you get the pressure of really trying to ramp it up the game touch as much as possible.
Nice.
Wide open, Jalen Brooks.
He's been showing up today.
Seventh rounder.
He has been showing up. I'm liking what he's doing out here. He's not only running great routes, he's creating the separation at the top of the stem, which is how you get open in this league.
All right, Isaiah, since it's your first training camp live, I want you to pick a player. We're going to ISO him on this play, okay?
All right.
Who you got?
I'm going with Big Tyron.
Going Tyron Smith on the left tackle spot. He's got Sean McEwen shaded to his right at tight end. D-Law's over there, but look at Leighton Vander Esch standing over the top of him. See what Tyron can do on this play. Got two receivers to that side as well. Went up against Jaron Curse, and they're going to let that one fly. Caught by Gallup far side. It looked like Stephon Gilmore lost his footing.
Yeah, it looked like he lost his footing, but before that, you saw Big Tyron in there, and they tried to bring some pressure, and Curse wanted no parts of that.
That didn't work, did it?
No, not so much.
Tyron's looked great through training camp. Of course, a big question is his health. Can he continue to stay on the field? And as long as he's on the field, he continues to be an elite-level offensive tackle.
There's a lot of speed at the receiver position right now with this group. Fehoko, Turpin, Tolbert.
Ended up in a good play last time out. You got Tony Pollard back behind. D-Law got through and
Screen.
You had to screen it to Tony Pollard.
Love to see it.
You want to see the screen game get going more effectively this year?
Yes, you definitely want to see the screen game, and I feel like we're going to see a lot more of that, especially with this West Coast. Again, this West Coast offense is all predicated on getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers. They're not trying to sit back there and take the risk of getting sacks. They want to get the ball out as quickly as possible and get their blockers out in front so they can make some plays with these talented receivers and running backs.
Oh, we got trips receivers to the left here, including tight end Peyton Hendershot in the formation.
See, it's going to be all about getting off this release.
Lamb, Cooks, Hendershot. They got a quick release to Brandon Cooks, who left Nashon right in the dust, and then he put a foot in the ground against Malik Hooker as well.
I'll tell you what, I know he's been around the league for a while, but he is looking like a young spring chicken. That dude can run some routes, man. He is a route specialist, and that's what he's going to bring to this receivers group. His chest is always over his toes. He's in and out of his breaks, and that's where you see that separation. Along with his speed, he can create separation, and that's dangerous.
And even with the ball in his hands, you could see the way that he just put a foot in the ground. And Malik Hooker, who's been as solid as anybody at the safety position through the first week here in Oxnard, stepped up and even whiffed on Brandon Cooks. Different group in at offensive line for the most part. Excuse me, actually, that's the same offensive line. First team O-line still out there. Different right tackle, different center.
Get out.
And got some pressure. D-Law got in there. It's like Neville Gallimore got some touch. Then you got Malik Davis downfield, but that would have been a sack far before that throw.
Great job by the defense. Not only did they get pressure, but they also had containment too. So made life a little bit hard for Dak.
Yeah, at center that time it was Brock Hoffman, and then at right tackle it was Matt Waletzko, and both Hoffman and Waletzko had a bit of a lapse. You had Josh Ball at right guard, he was okay, and then you had Tyron and Tyler, both Smiths on the left. Here's Will Greer, who's going to roll out on a little bootleg. You're going to see a lot of these bootlegs as well as he puts it on the money to Tyron Johnson.
Well, how about them utilizing their fullback with an I formation? When's the last time we saw an I formation in Dallas?
It's been a little bit.
It's been a minute.
Had Deuce Vaughn in the formation. They had Hunter Lipke up there.
Yeah.
For those who have been asking about Hunter Lipke, he's had some reps, but it's just been limited reps.
Correct.
I think they're still trying to find a role for him through at least 1 week. You got Deuce still back in the backfield. You excited to see him now that the pads are on?
I am, especially when you start looking at these 3x1 sets, because it's 3 receivers to the left, but he's also shifted to the left as well.
You're going to give him on a bit of counter.
That's space.
Had a good block set on the right side. I believe it was Farniak who really set the edge, and then Chuma Edoga who had another nice finish.
And those are large human beings, and when you have large human beings blocking and you have a little guy back there, he can play hide and go seek. And when he pops out, he has the juice to go ahead and make big plays.
All right, pick somebody to ISO here. Who do you want to look at? As Lipke's in the backfield.
Now let's go Jalen Brooks. He got one-on-one out here. Looks like it's going to be an all-out blitz, so he's going to have opportunity to win.
There he is. There's Jalen Brooks.
They dropped out.
That's Brooks v. Brooks.
Nice separation.
Got it right there. Great ISO, my friend. Jalen Brooks beats Miles Brooks, both rookies. Brooks was the 7th-round pick. Miles Brooks was an undrafted free agent. You saw the separation, able to get a little extension.
Got a little extension. You want to see them hands a little bit tighter, but we didn't see any flags come out. We do have the zebras out here. They didn't throw no flags, so I'm going to go ahead and count that as a win for the good guys.
You good guys offense?
Yeah, doggone right, good guys are offense.
You played offense.
Defense
I
guys
think you're
are
a
bullies.
little biased. That's okay. That's fine. We'll go back to Will Greer here. Big summer for Greer if he wants to find a role as a backup, and the defense is going to call a timeout here.
They saw Lipke in the backfield by himself. I think they got a little concerned.
Remember, Mike McCarthy is the play caller here, and it's a little bit different. He even said today that, of course, I want the offense to succeed, and then he was asked, well, what happens when the defense succeeds? He says, then I put my head coach hat on.
That's it. He has that leverage. What we got down here? Okay.
Got Johnson to the left, Lipke in the backfield again. Will Greer.
Two.
He threw that one wide open, far side to Jalen Cropper.
That's a good job by Will Greer being able to decipher exactly what that coverage is. They presented something to him pre-snap. That coverage changed post-snap, and he was able to find the right guy.
He went all the way through his progression. I mean, he went left to right all the way through.
Hurry in to the Acura Summer of Performance event going on now.
All right, we've got third down and fourth down situations here, Isaiah, and these are imperative for early growth on your offense because when the pressure's on, you have to be able to execute, and these are the plays that are going to allow you to do so.
Absolutely, and when you're an offense of the Dallas Cowboys, you have the pleasure of going against probably one of the best defenses in the league.
CeeDee Lamb made that look easy, though. That didn't look like the best defense in the league. That was pitch and catch.
Trying to tell you, it's that West Coast, Carl.
That's about 15 yards, no problem.
Easy.
Prescott and Lamb.
That's the thing. When you have the West Coast offense and you have a lot of your routes that are predicated on short routes, all right, everything within 5 yards, when you bring that pressure, there's going to be holes right there available for you to take advantage of.
See Marquise Bell switching sides as Hooker will back up defensively. Ooh, Micah Parsons with a great rush. He got in there quickly, and they blew it dead. And really, no doubt, Micah Parsons had the sack there.
I'm not sure, Kyle. He still looked like he did a good job of going and running them by, is what we call it. Just running them by on the outside. It looked like he might have got there, but Dak was able to step up.
Got T.J. Bass in there playing a little right guard. Tyler Biadasz at center. Tyron and Tyler Smith at left tackle and left guard. At right tackle, you got
Tszyu versus Parsons. That's what it says out there.
Let's watch that ISO. We got Terrence Steele versus D-Law and Parsons with a nice little stunt. Pocket clean for Dak at the moment, but nobody open downfield. Not until Brandon Cooks got a little separation, but Nahshon Wright stuck with him.
Nahshon Wright did a heck of a job of staying with him, making a contested play over there on the ball, forced an incompletion.
There's the ones. First try at third down and fourth down. They converted on the first one, did not on the second one. And so they'll get off the field. Now Cooper Rush will get a shot. Matt Farniok appears to be the center. You got Matt Waletzko, who will take some snaps at right tackle.
The second offensive line. You know who I've been seeing today, Carl, has been showing up? It's been Golston. Golston's been doing a good job on the interior defensive line. Obviously, one of those high-profile positions this year.
He's played a little 3 technique, played a little 5 technique. Bounce around that D-line. Now Cooper Rush going to let that fly. David Durden downfield. Almost had the reception. He had the distance between him and Eric Scott, but he couldn't hold on.
Yeah, ball got out a little bit later than he probably wanted to, but he gave him a chance, and he just got to come down with that catch somehow, some way.
Eric Scott Jr., who really got off to a great start in camp, has since had some growing pains. I mean, he's a 6th-round pick. He's a rookie.
That's right, but I mean, I've seen him make 2 breakups today so far, so he's doing a good job.
He's had to come from behind on both of those, though.
Facts.
Here's Cooper Rush again. Trips receivers to his right. Ontario Drummond, Dennis Houston. There's Houston on the reception in between a couple players, and that goes back to the West Coast concepts, making it easy on your quarterback.
Especially when you start getting those bunch sets like that, it makes it hard on the defense to play man-to-man coverage. So you force zones, and then you obviously, as an offensive team, you get the looks that you're hoping for.
This has been such a fun practice. The energy has been high. The pads are back on. You can feel the popping again. And ultimately, it's also a long practice, with that being said. I mean, this is the hottest day we've had in Oxnard. It's 84 degrees right now, which I know everybody back in Texas is scoffing at 84 degrees.
It feels hotter.
The sun is beating down today, so this is a good practice. Lots of progress being made. And there's Cooper Rush near side. Sean McEwen completion, but he slipped down.
Good job by the offensive line. Pat,
A little bit of something happening in the back.
Physical.
That's Wanye Thomas shoving Matt Let's-Go. Chauncey Golston in there to break it up. Dante Fowler Jr. not happy either.
I love to see it from Tyler Biotish, man. Holding it down for the O-line, protecting his quarterback.
All the way back out to at least get in the mix there as the ones will step back in. That wasn't even the ones, Isaiah, getting some pushing and shoving. Those are guys that are fighting for position.
And offensive line did a good job of picking up that stunt.
Here we go with Dak again, and he got Dante Fowler offsides. Of course, right over the middle, there's Jalen Tolbert. Probably could have run that one through a little bit longer, but again, you don't want to have a wasted rep. That's one thing we saw with Dante Fowler Jr. last year. If one thing turned into another thing, you got to limit those penalties, especially if something like that happens where a little pushing and shoving, a little bit of talking, you got to be able to compartmentalize.
Yeah, you got to go on to the next play. Now you got the D-Law versus Steele and Fowler.
J-Ron Kurtz all the way up at the line of scrimmage as well. All-out blitz, engage 8. Putting some pressure on Prescott, and the throw goes high, trying to find Simi Fehoko.
Yeah, but the unfortunate thing is not only did Dak have pressure, but there's a dude by the name of Stephon Gilmore sitting in the hip pocket of Simi Fehoko. So the chances of that being completed on that particular route weren't that high.
How big is it to have Gilmore in the fold and a veteran like that in the cornerback room? I mean, Trayvon Diggs is on the sideline currently. He did the individual drills, but he's been limited in terms of team stuff with a toe injury. But having Gilmore as that go-to voice as a defensive back, how big is that?
It's huge. I mean, because you look on the other side of the field and you have a man in there who's an all-pro multiple times and just super confident, super relaxed, and understands what they're trying to do defensively.
Guess who? Micah Parsons was in the backfield again. Little double clutch and a throw to Jalen Tolbert. He holds on right in front of us.
Prescott turns 30 today, and he's entering another pivotal season for him. He's looking to bounce back and from the 15 interception season last year. And he talked a lot about tipped or 10, whatever you want to phrase it as. But nonetheless, the Cowboys are looking for fewer giveaways from their offense to complement the increased amount of takeaways they're getting from their defense.
A couple good balls there on this drill, trying to just roll back, take that step. And this is really a lot about footwork and timing with the wide receivers. Nothing crazy going on here, but for the most part, it's trying to get on the same page to avoid some of those interceptions.
Absolutely, and this is how you get on the same page. These types of drills, this is how quarterbacks build trust with every respective receiver so that when you're in a game situation, it becomes muscle memory. You know inherently if you can trust this guy going across the middle or going deep, whatever might be the call on that route tree, or if you check down and you look for the progression.
Here's Devontae Turpin. He slipped on at least the initial plant that he got up, made the grab, and then slipped again. But he's still holding on to the football. First option we've gotten to see from Devontae Turpin. Here's a route from Jalen Moreno-Cropper, and he bobbled that one and let it drop. But a couple young wide receivers trying to make a spot into the rotation.
And great play there for Devontae Turpin, who is returning today after the birth of his daughter.
Oh.
So congratulations to Devontae Turpin, #GirlDad. And he's hitting the ground running, which is going to be key for him because when you talk about the addition of a guy like Deuce Vaughn and how the Cowboys are going to try to utilize Deuce Vaughn's versatility in the offense, obviously that drives a little bit in the lane of Devontae Turpin. So it's good to see Turpin getting out here and getting a hot start. Jalen Moreno-Cropper got off to a hot start day one with the Cowboys. Not so great on that drop, but that is not consistent for him. What is consistent is good hands, and that's why he's on the team in the first place. He does have a chance to kind of push this wide receiver room from wide receiver 4 downward as far as roster cuts are concerned.
Yeah, lots of eyes on him as an undrafted free agent out of Fresno State, kind of filling that role that Dennis Houston had last year as an undrafted rookie, coming in the wide receiver spot and playing really good football here in Oxnard. Now we've added the running backs and the tight ends to this drill. We've got a 2 tight end set here to the near side to Tony Pollard back behind as Dak Prescott will set up under center. This is a great look at the wide receivers and the running backs as Dak goes into that 5-step drop, and he'll loft it up for Michael Gallup, who is not there. Michael Gallup looking back at Dak Prescott and, again, getting on the same page. That's something you've got to look for.
And I'll tell you what, Kyle, this is exactly what you want to see happen in camp versus happening in the game. You want to make sure that the receivers are understanding the communication and the route and the play calls so that those mistakes don't carry over when they become meaningful reps.
See what he has on this rep. Try it again, another 5-step drop, same route. Now it's Gallup, turning on the juice a little bit, and that one dropped in the bucket from Dak Prescott.
Much better, much more delicious route there from Michael Gallup. And then
delicious,
tasty, if you will. And Dak Prescott doing what Dak Prescott's been doing at the beginning in this first week of camp. He's really dropping some dimes. The other day, and day 2 of practice, I believe, we saw that deep ball from him to Brandon Cooks. So he's dropping them in the basket. The receivers, as long as they're on the same page with him, they're making the right plays. And you love to see that from Michael Gallup.
Now here's Prescott again, looking near side for Tolbert. Got that one over the top. You mentioned the hot start that Jalen Moreno-Cropper had to camp, but Jalen Tolbert's really been the talk of camp so far.
Tolbert is off to a scorching start, to say the least. Even with that interception that was credited to Nashawn Wright, if you look at the footage of that, Jalen Tolbert was right there being physical. He was high-pointing the ball with him. Nashawn's length kind of won that battle, but Jalen Tolbert has consistently done well thus far, and he's rolling it over from his great performance in minicamp.
Here goes Prescott again, trying the long ball, this time far side to the rookie Jalen Brooks. It's off his hands and incomplete. Good throw from Dak, and it looked like Brooks had trouble really looking for that football. He was looking directly into the sun, which is on the backside of our camera at the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge out here in sunny, beautiful California. You're definitely going to get that glowing ball in the sky in your line of sight every once in a while. But again, what's promising to see is yet another accurate deep ball from Dak Prescott. He's really been on the money out here in Oxnard this year.
Of course, a lot of critics might say they're throwing against nobody at the moment. It is 7-on-7, routes on air. But here you go, looking at CeeDee Lamb all the way on the goal line, and that one maybe a little underthrown, but Lamb able to adjust to it greatly and makes a nice grab.
And you know, for those people, Kyle, that say, well, they're not throwing against competition right now, this is where it begins. Before you can throw against someone, you got to go throw against no one. And you got to get the trust built, the chemistry built, the timing built with your receivers. Even with CeeDee Lamb, you saw Lamb and Dak had a couple of miscues last season. You want to get those out of the way now, and it's great to see them making a connection here in Oxnard.
On the phone.
First of all,
Stop it, Hollywood. Your pick
I
wrong.
like to know.